Hey, good afternoon. We're here in the workout facility at the Bob Bolin Training Complex, and I am joined today by Paul McCullough. And Paul is the co-founder of O2X. And some of you have been through the O2X program that Paul and his team have put on. And many of you will recognize Paul's name that are studying for the promotional test because their book, the Human Performance book, is on the promotional reading list. So Paul, I appreciate you being here with us today. And we're here to announce the fact that as an add-on to our new Health and Wellness Center, what we're doing is contracting with O2X to bring different modules in to talk about resiliency. And so Paul, as we get into this, can you just start by giving us a little background about yourself? You've got a unique history, and you bring a lot of credibility to the table right off the bat with that. So do you mind sharing it with our folks?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody taking the time to dial in and listen. A little bit about myself. So I am one of the co-founders of O2X Human Performance. We're based up in Boston, Massachusetts, just south of the city, maybe 15 miles or so. My personal background prior to starting O2X, I served a little over a decade in the United States military, as you know. All my time was spent in the SEAL teams, so I enlisted in the SEAL teams August 29th of 2001, so just before September 11th, less than 2 weeks. My boot camp division was actually commissioned on September 11th, and when I heard the story of what happened at the World Trade Center, I'd never even been to New York before. I didn't know even what the World Trade Center was, and I actually thought it was some military drill. And then all of a sudden I start getting these letters from home, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And the guy that came out and told us about what happened said, hey, some planes crashed into the World Trade Center, and more of like a going to war speech. And in my time, I was like, yeah, this is some cheesy military drill. This isn't real, which obviously turned out to be very much incorrect. So the timing I had in the military was interesting. I think a lot of luck in timing. I tried out, went to Buds, successfully made it through the program, and checked into SEAL Team 8 right around 2003 to 2004 timeframe. And first deployment was to Iraq, and then I continued to serve and deploy up until I got out right at the end of 2012. I spent first half of my career at SEAL Team 8, tried out for a unit called Development Group, spent the majority of my career at Dev Group. And I had a real difficult time getting out of the SEAL teams, to be honest. It was a challenge for me to figure out. My whole entire life, all I wanted to be was a Navy SEAL. And I got out of the SEAL teams, didn't know 100% what I wanted to do, but I definitely had this feeling that I wanted to be doing something that I was passionate about, something that I believed in. I wanted to do something about something patriotic still, something about serving the country. And I started O2X with a couple other SEALs. And we're still together now. So we started O2X really in 2013, and went off to the races from there. And we can get into that kind of story.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool because what you've done, and we've talked a little bit about your appreciation for veterans that take their specialty in the military and spin it into a good thing to make public-private partnerships out of. So that's kind of how O2X came about, and it's based more towards human performance and resiliency of tactical athletes, of which police, fire, EMS providers are just that. So tell us a little bit about O2X and how you've used your military training to make it a human performance program.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that is we're pretty passionate about the way we have it. And I love that you just brought up merging what you did in the military to the private sector. When people hear human performance, often I think they automatically go down the line of physical fitness. That's one thing that we'll probably get into this partnership and what this will entail here in a second. But O2X is not a physical fitness company. Clearly, strength and conditioning, energy systems, and physical well-being is part of what we do, but it's very much just a part of part of the system. We're very much a complete approach to performance. So when we talk about human performance, the methodology, which you'll see on the Tactical Athlete Portal and the virtual offerings and at our workshops, as many have gone through, we talk a lot about eat, sweat, thrive, eat, sweat, thrive, eat, sweat, thrive. Really what that is our methodology to strength and conditioning, performance nutrition, stress mitigation, resilience, a lot of behavioral health, mindfulness, and we don't really weight any of those more strong than the other, right? So we take a very wide range view at human performance. We believe these are independent pillars, but they're very much codependent on ourselves. When we first put the program together, we built this program off of a train the trainer type idea. We've since modified the training, and we've kind of pushed out of that, believing that, not believing, we've really seen that methodology doesn't really work in the fire service. The example I use a lot in the SEAL teams is that we have lead breachers, lead snipers, lead climbers, divers, whatever they are, and those people are SMEs, right? They're subject matter experts. And they go to a school for a given amount of time, and then they bring it back to the platoon. And if I'm the breacher, I might go to breaching school, multiple times in schools, multiple times throughout the course of my career, and every year I'm getting more training, but I bring it back, but there's a big difference. I might be working with 15 people for 15 years, and we have those set positions, but I'm bringing it back, and everybody's going to breach. And then you go and you use it on deployment, and you hit repeat. What we've seen in the fire service in particular is that these subject matter experts are very difficult. And the human performance side, which I love what you're doing with Frontline and all that stuff, which we'll talk about, it's very difficult with the human performance piece, meaning that what we've seen in the public safety in general, whether it's law enforcement or whether it's the fire service, is that human performance isn't this thing that people are going through on a regular basis. Sleep classes, nutrition classes, strength and conditioning classes, mindfulness things. And it's almost impossible for one person to get trained up and then teach it to the masses, right? Especially when you're talking about shift work. When we if we back up maybe 7 years ago when we started working with Boston Fire Department, we went in, gave a presentation on O2X, on this complete approach. A lot of the lessons learned that we saw that high-level units were doing in the military and what they wanted to bring, and we wanted to bring this to Boston Fire. Well, when we sat down with Boston Fire, at the time, we weren't working with any fire departments. It was the first fire department that we'd worked with at all. We maybe had a couple people come through some workshops, and that's about it. We still work with a lot of collegiate and professional and Olympic athletes. We were doing some stuff with those spaces, but very different type of environment. What we've learned to see in the fire service there is consistent nationwide. And we went in there and they were hovering right around 10%-ish of orthopedic injuries a year on the job, cardiac events through the roof, cancer events through the roof, substance abuse, suicides. Average firehouse meal, like we talked about this yesterday, was 3,500 calories, major sleep issues. And so bottom line, it was this big, difficult thing. On the professional sports side of the house, or a corporate side, or whatever it is, if you take a college hockey player, professional hockey player, NHL, whatever, that playing time, that person's probably 23 years old and might peak and be done by 25, 27 years old. They could play longer, but average playing time in the NFL is like 3.5 years, right? You take the fire service, you see all these issues across the board. Bottom line is that there's no season. There's no off season. You could be 22 years old or you could be 55 years old. You could still be called to the same fire. Very difficult to train that person. And then they have all this other stuff going on, like shift work, sleep issues, depression.
And so that segues really nicely into the fact that you had the opportunity to meet with Russ and to meet with us regarding our relationship with Frontline and what we're trying to do with a age-based and experience-based physical exam, which includes, as we've just talked about, a resiliency assessment on an annual basis that includes the things of sleep and anxiety and depression and substance use and those things. So tell me how you as O2X, bringing in your programs, are going to be a good fit to tailor individual programs
Oh, Frontline.
to what Frontline's finding if our folks are honest in their assessments when they return them for their physical.
Yeah, so I just sat through the Frontline office. I went through all the offerings that's available, and I guess the first thing I want to say is the resources that you all have are arguably second to none from what I've seen. I travel around the country. We've delivered training and education and human performance programs to literally 100 plus, fire departments easily. It's really all we're doing at this point, focused on is police, fire, military, human performance, training and education. The resources that I just walked through there, I'm not joking, probably second to none, right? The membership here has the ability to walk in with trusted people that can give them feedback instantly, and it's a resource that should be taken advantage of. And so I'm pumped to be part of that system. I can't say enough good things about what I've seen on a high level at this point. I would look at O2X and the program that's going to be available to the membership as like phase 2, right? So phase 1, you walk in, you have this awesome resource. You're going to get on a body composition. You're going to be able to sit down. They're going to be able to talk about nutrition stuff. They're going to be talking about sleep stuff. Obviously, the real health and wellness medical side of the house. But then what do, right? And so I think the next step is implementing this stuff, right? So you can go through a program and fail a PT test, or you could go through a body comp and see that you are obese, or you could go through a behavioral health assessment and see that you have issues with anxiety or sleep. What you do with that information is, I think, where O2X comes in. So if it makes sense,
it makes total sense. So keep going.
So what Fort Worth has decided to partner with O2X on, and I know that a bunch of members have come through and have vouched for our program, which is awesome. Back to this complete approach to human performance, we'll be running a workshop here shortly. I think pending when COVID makes sense and all that, we'll be running a workshop here. I think whether it's a 3-day workshop or a 4-day workshop is somewhat up in the air, and so we're hoping that we get a lot of participation from those members that are interested in being there. Our team itself clearly has a lot of spec op folks like myself, but also like SWAT type folks, military type guys, firefighters, practitioners, workshop leads, workshop assistants that kind of keep the glue together. On these workshops, what we do is we fly in subject matter experts from around the country. We have about 200 or so contracted SMEs. These people, and I promise everyone here, they're some of the best in the field in human performance. We look for doctors in sleep and fly them in from Naval Special Warfare that did sleep studies for 30 years. We bring in strength and conditioning coaches or athletic trainers from professional sport teams or spec op units. Same thing on the behavioral health side, nutritionists. And so we have a really deep, good understanding of a needs analysis and a cultural competence of how to deliver training and education to tactical athletes. That is 100% our specialty. Outside of that workshop, which I hope some members can sign up and go, and I encourage you to talk to other members that have heard about or been through some of our human performance trainings, everybody is going to get access to our virtual offerings. So right now we have kind of 2 ways you could attack that. One is a tactical athlete portal, which is more of a desktop version, and the next, which is a higher level, is our mobile application. So on the highest level, we take this tactical athlete portal or this tactical performance mobile app and break it down into our methodology. So simply put, we have an Eat, Sweat, Thrive mobile application. Under the Eat side, we don't try to get too into the weeds knowing that we're going to lose people right away. It's more daily tracking, where you can really plug in what you did yesterday, from how many calories you had, how much alcohol, how much water you drank, how much caffeine you had, all the basics real quick, and that just kind of goes there. Outside of that, for the firehouse, for the meals, we've got hundreds and hundreds of recipes with cooking directions and pictures and everything. You can pull them up right there. You guys can implement some healthy recipes at the firehouse, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, all that stuff. So Eat category is pretty simple. Under the Sweat category on the app, I think people are going to take a ton advantage of. you can hit like help me find a plan and answer a whole bunch of questions, whether it is you want to lose weight, build lean mass, train for a run. It could be a 5K, it could be a marathon, it could be to build anaerobic capacity or endurance, just get big, get strong. Maybe it's to train for a certain event, like a CPAT, or maybe it's to try a strength and conditioning program for a spec op unit because you just want to see like how you fit. So you can answer all these questions. We've got hundreds of training plans in there that you can click on, you can follow. These are periodized plans designed from real subject matter experts, like I said, from people that might work at a professional sport team or Olympic training center or whatever, and you can follow these plans. You can click on them. A video will pop up in case you don't know how to do the exercise. So every exercise that's in there has a little video that will be on repeat, so people will like that. If you don't want to follow plans, which tons of the firefighters don't want to necessarily follow like an 8-week or 12-week periodized plan, but they're like, hey man, I just want to get like a 20-minute sweat in. You have this workout generator that you can tap, and there's body weight only workouts if you don't have any access to equipment, to tactical athlete plans, which would require some type of equipment. So people can click on those, and you can literally hit regenerate, hundreds of times. A new 20-minute workouts will pop up. 20 minutes. Those are awesome for the firehouse. So we have tons of firehouses that will say, hey, we're here for 24 hours. We might all be following our own different training plans, but hey, can we do a 20-minute sweat together today? And typically the answer should be yes. And they go through, tap a bunch, everyone gets on the same page. They want to do body weight only, or they want to do something a little bit more advanced, whatever. Filter through a bunch, get the team together, do that, and it's done. Then the Thrive side is we talk about Thrive, we talk about everything like neck up. So that's the stress mitigation, that's the resilience, that's the behavioral health side of the house. A lot of sleep in there. You can click on that Thrive piece. You can follow a Thrive plan based on answering a whole bunch of questions if you want to follow a Thrive plan. But what we find a lot of the firefighters are doing now is just drills. So we have breathing exercise. You can click on there, choose the time, run a breathing exercise. You can do a meditation drill. You can do yoga nidra, which is like sleep yoga. You can do those sleep stories. You can click white noise if you're going to go back into the bay. You're trying to cut away do a 20-minute nap. So that's highly useful, and I think something that a lot of members don't go for right away, but it's something where once they do it, they see the benefits of it, and it sort of takes off. It's kind of, we see that in our workshops too. Like the Thrive piece might be often the last thing people sign up for, but it's always one of the highest rated that they come out. Last piece that I should sort of mention, and there's tons more on this program, but the last piece, which is pretty cool outside of all these assessments that you can take on the app or on the portal, is back to those subject matter experts that we have, right around 200 of them. So part of this is that there's an Ask an Expert tab that you can tap on. Part of this partnership, which is another huge resource that I think should be taken advantage of, is we break the categories down into the Eat, Sweat, Thrive. But if you have a question on nutrition, if you have a question on strength and conditioning, if you have a question on whatever, tap on that, you write it in. It's not a hotline. It's not meant for like an instant chat. It's really, you give us a real question. Hey, I got an issue with my shoulders. I'm trying to prepare for this. Hey, help me out with something on nutrition, or I'm having a hard time sleeping on my off days or something like that. You write in a real question, well, guess what? We have these people on retainer, and you're going to get a real answer back. So that's been something that's been awesome, and I think people really enjoy.
So I appreciate you taking us through that over the last several minutes, and I guess what I'm getting at is that we are looking to build a cradle to grave approach here, where we bring in somebody from a brand new recruit, and we mold and shape their mind and their body. And what I'm interested in doing is to make sure that when they get out of the academy, that it just follows them and it just continues right on. However, that train that they're on, that anybody in the fire department can jump on along the way. And so between a lot of the things we're doing with Frontline and a lot of the things that we plan on doing with you, we just executed the contract, so we anticipate having that up and running in the next couple weeks.
Yep.
And Paul, everything that I've known in my short time getting to know you, I think that you're going to be a great fit, and I think that having the opportunity to bring Frontline in from the physical assessment part of it, and bringing you guys to fit and plug into the human performance part of it, I just think that it's going to really give our folks an opportunity to get well, stay well, and be a leader in the fire service regarding health and wellness.
Yeah.
And I think you agree with me on that.
100%.
So with that, I think I'm going to end here, but I really appreciate everybody listening in. I appreciate everything that you've done for us to this point, and I look forward to the relationship in the future. So
Yeah.
thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
Appreciate
Paul,
it, Chief.
thanks.